how's your day going?
Yeah, it's good. New York is we're phase 2 here on Long Island. So certain restaurants just opened up for like outdoor seating only, but New York City is still phase 1, which is like just construction and, the essential workers basically. So it's still a little crazy over here. How about by you guys?
I mean, it's the new normal. I actually had my first lunch meeting since COVID started today. It was funny, man. It was a little surreal. It's like, you give me an inch, I kind of want to do everything and take whatever it is. Give an inch, take the whole foot or whatever. But yeah, man, it was kind of getting back to it. I mean, it's getting used to it. I still go to restaurants and I feel it just feels different, right? Like seeing the spacing and we had a long conversation today with my two business partners too, trying to figure out like what's the next step, right? When do we go back? When is it too early? When is it too soon? What's the best for our employees? What's the best for the company? It's difficult to kind of figure out what the next step is. So we're still getting used to the new normal.
Yeah, I hear you. I signed up for, I have like this commercial telemarketer that sets up meetings for me. Obviously, I haven't used it in the last couple of months because all the businesses are shut down, right? So I just got it started up yesterday again. And I was kind of like, what are you hearing from other agencies? Are like people actually, because all these appointments, they set them up for me to meet the business owner in person. So I'm like, are people still doing that? Or like, would they rather me just talk to them on Zoom right now? Because it's still so, it's still, everything's basically closed down still. So it's going to be interesting to see, like you said, that first appointment I go on, it's going to feel super strange.
Man, honestly, even the handshake, even it's like, I'm probably one of the most, like, for me, it's all about respecting others, but still it's like, I've been taught since I was little, you got to shake someone in the hand, look them in, shake their hand firm, right? Look them in the eyes. It's now it's like, hey, I don't feel bad, like fist pump or elbow.
Yeah, fist pump.
Yeah, the fist pump. I saw it coming. I didn't know it was going to be this bad, but the fist pump, man, it's one of those things where for now on, the fist pump's got to be the new normal.
It's got to be tough to do with a business owner who has a large business, though. They might feel some type of way about it.
You'll suck it up. You gotta have hand sanitizer in your pocket. Hey,
That's
but think about this too, and obviously the Hispanic culture as well. Like we're used to giving hugs, giving kisses. It's kind of like the big thing. Like so now it's you kind of go in and you're like, it's it's just hectic, man. Happy end of the world to you, sir. So
exactly. A year we'll never forget for sure. But guys, I wanted to ask you, how did you get? Because even just following your Instagram, I find on our phone call, I said the same thing. Like what you guys are doing over at Jag, I find super inspirational for myself, and it really like motivates me to just. I see you guys post. I see you guys on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and when I see you guys post, it like lights that extra fire underneath me. Like, damn. Jags out there, they're working hard. I gotta, I gotta step it up. So it's nice. It's like, just thank you for you guys doing that. Another level of motivation for me. I just wanted to tell you that. But how did you get started in the insurance world?
Well, first, thanks for that. I mean, just it's cool to kind of hear that. I mean, and we're trying to kind of be as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And kind of just be you. Like, it's so funny. Like the social media thing, some people are truly engaged, some aren't. Some people kind of just use it to pass the time. I think it's like what we're doing now, just being able to connect with people, and there's no barriers anymore. I think that's the whole point. Social media, we kind of use it as an attention platform, so it's cool. So I appreciate that. Insurance. I'm actually the only. So my family's in the restaurant business, believe it or not. And I have a twin brother. He runs it and he works with my family. I'm the only one that's not in the hospitality business. I did it before, but I remember early on, kind of finishing college, trying to find my path. I remember thinking to myself, I did want to do something on my own, not for any reason. My family's great, parents are great, man. They're great mentors. They build a tremendous business. They have 8 restaurants, 8 locations, 3 franchises. I think. I learned from them, and they have over 800 employees, 800 problems, potential problems. But I mean, just doing it. I always wanted to. I thought it'd be cool to kind of do my own thing. I wanted my own identity, and I remember graduating, right, not knowing what to do. I was a college athlete. I had this false narrative that I was going to play for the Marlins or any baseball team. I'm a baseball guy. I think I went through what everyone goes through when they're 23, 24. It's kind of like, hey, what's next? What's the next step? College doesn't necessarily prepare you for that. Like, you got a degree, but then what's the next step? And my stepfather, give him all the credit in the world, he told me one day, just in passing, which is hilarious. He told me, dude, if I was you, I would get into insurance. I'm like, why? That is the worst. I've never even heard of that. It's the worst thing in the world. Like, why would you do that? And he told me in his own way, he says, look, I've been sending my life insurance check to my agent for the last 35 years. I've spoken to him once. And he was in sales working for actually for Kodak in Latin America. He was a salesperson by nature. But when he told me that, he's like, if I was your agent and had your energy, your charisma, your drive, go do that. Because if you can do that and work hard for the next 30 years, man, you could build your own book of business. So he kind of lit that, per se, the question. And so happened I had a buddy of mine who I played high school with. He was working at a local State Farm office. And I called them up. I sent him a text. So I don't know if we had text back then, or I'm gonna call them I think I had the next telephone. I'm not sure, but I remember I just sent him a message. He's like, of course, and now, right? Anybody that we meet that's young and has some sort of energy, we're gonna bring them in. He brought me in, and I started working, and I was a receptionist at 23, 24. My parents actually, which is funny, because I'm a twin. It was like, okay, you're going to go do it. And I made kind of a hard stance. They're like, then you go do it. So it was like, I'm going this route. And I got into it that way. And I had no turning back. A lot of that had to do with ego.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you brought up not going to work for your family's. That's actually something I did. A little bit of a different situation, but my uncle owned a nationwide agency. And when I was 21, he said, you should get into insurance. And I was like, I had the same face you made. I was like, what? And he kind of, he explained it to me. And, I decided to jump in. But there's definitely, when you're working at a family business, there's great benefits to it. But there's definitely that little thing that hangs over your head, for me anyway. And there's certain people that will be like, oh, you work at your uncle's agent. Oh, he gave, they kind of like, oh, he gave you the job. You know what I mean? Right. So there always is that little thing that hangs over your head. And honestly, I don't think it bothers most people, but for me, like, that definitely did wear on me more and more as the years went on. And I always had a passion for wanting to do my own thing. So I think eventually it just got to that point where I had to break off. But I completely understand what you're saying, and I can kind of relate to why you wouldn't want to go that route. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
it's funny because now I have 8-year-old twins, so my kids are 8, and it's funny what I kind of wanted to do on my own. Now it's the motivating factor for me to build for my kids. It's almost like who knows what the future is going to entail, right? With like what jobs are going to look like in 20 years, what the economy is going to look like. What are homes going to cost in 20 years? So like now, one of my passions besides helping people and our staff is then why not? Like, why not build something for my kids just in case? So it's almost like I went this way, but I'm reverting to what our parents did. I think it's pretty natural. But it's cool. The same thought. I've always wanted to kind of, I think there's 95% benefits working for your family. It's great. I think that there's a 5% kind of wall that comes up where it's, you have that instinct that you want to do your own thing. But I think that 5% is control, right? Do you want to do your own thing, right? Do you want to have nothing over? And for me, like, I want to make my parents proud. Like, dude, they were great to me. So I almost want to prove to them, like, you did everything right. I have no excuse. Like, if I fail, I failed them. Like, I'm not saying I was, dude, I grew up completely blessed. Like, I was given every opportunity to be successful. I got everything: food, shelter, water. Man, I went to school. Obviously I pushed myself, but if it's a challenge for me to show my parents, to make them proud, to say, man, I'm gonna do it on my own. So that's kind of like what jumped the gun, that extra. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do my own thing.
That's cool. That's cool that you have that motivation. But how did, but before I go to the next thing, how did, because I know you told me how you got into insurance. How did you, Fernie, and Doug, how did you guys all link up together?
So it's a pretty cool story. I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
Right? You give me a glass of wine, man, I'll keep going for a while. But it's interesting. Actually, so us three were friends first, and then we became business partners. And I think that's kind of the interesting balance. It's both, and we've been able to kind of manage that. But I went to college, so I played baseball at a Florida International University down here in South Florida. I played baseball. Fernando played baseball. Doug played football. So one of the things clicked. Like we actually used to work out together in college. Like we used to hang out. I hung out more with Fernando because we played baseball. Doug was on the football team. But back then in 2002, 2003, it was a small school. Like Doug was on the first football team at the university. Like the school now looks like a city, right? But when we were there, like this is before Instagram and the internet. People would ask you, where do you go to school? And I would tell them FIU. I'm like, wait a minute, where's that? I had to like tell them how far it was from the University of Miami. You know, and no, I didn't go to UM. I went to the other school, even though we used to beat them, FYI. But it was kind of, we actually were friends. So kind of fast forward, man, I got into insurance, again, working like my stepfather kind of opened up this light. I went to work at State Farm. I had no idea Doug's father was in the insurance business. So Fernando went to go play for the White Sox for a couple of years in the minor leagues. But I think it was in 2006. We were in, and I'm sure it's up there in the Northeast, but Florida has their FAIA, which is the Florida Association of Independent Agents. I'm assuming every state has that. It's our Super Bowl, right? Yeah. Our Super Bowl of insurance. I ended up going with the firm I was working with, not knowing that, just Doug went with his father. Fernando was working with his firm, which were smaller independent agencies. Dude, we actually ran into each other at the bar. And I saw Doug, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What are you doing? He's like, I'm here with my dad. I'm like, you're in insurance? He's like, yeah, I've been working for my dad. I'm like, dude, I didn't know that. He's like, hey, do you see Fernie? I go, oh, no, Fernie's here too? Where's he at? He's like, so but the funny part is we were all like 25, 26. I know for a fact we're the youngest guys there. I had a lot more hair back then and, whatever. But it was like we had nothing in common with anybody around us, but we saw each other there. We hung out the whole night at the bar just talking. And then the being we were friends, but we didn't, then we really reconnected. About a month later, we all jumped ship and started working together for Doug's father. Doug's dad had a big agency down here. I say big in a sense where he had a really unique niche. His firm ran a captive program for all the thoroughbred racetracks in the country. Wow. So I mean, Ray was a mentor of mine. But I mean, Ray ran 2 offices, but I mean, he basically ran. It was a captive program out of Bermuda. It was AIG paper. And what he did is he basically flew around the country just rolling in every racetrack in the country into his pool. And he did that for about 15, 16 years. So he cleaned up, but basically 9/11 happened. After the terrorism attack on the World Trade Center, the terrorism was kind of the big next at a sporting event. So that piece pulled out. And when that happened after 9/11, he kind of started to shift. So it was a really niche agency. And then when we were talking at the bar that day, we got involved. It was like he was like, "Look, I got an infrastructure, an office in Coral Gables. You guys want to sell insurance? I'm commission only. Here are the keys. Go run with it." And we did that. And we did that in 2006. And that's kind of how it happened. It was just like I was bored working for somebody I didn't really, it was a different situation. So was he. Yeah. We said, let's just get together. And we shared a small office. We were wearing suits at the time. And we just started knocking on doors, man. Like being journalists, it was. It's cool when it's good and bad, but when you take your licks in your early 20s, it's kind of like that. It's like an internship, right, where you're getting beat up. But we walked into places, walked into businesses, telling people how to insure a business when we didn't own one, right? The biggest issue. But we did that, man, together when we were still together. 15 years later.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I still remember as clear as day. The first commercial appointment I went on at an auto repair shop here in New York, I had no clue what I was talking about. I walked in and you could tell, you know, like when the person on the other end just knows you're fresh and you're new. Yeah. Like he wouldn't show me the policy. There was so many things he was hiding, and he'd be like, Sean, how much garage keepers do you think I need? And I was like, $1 million? I don't know. You know, and it's like a small little body shop. Yeah. So, you know, no, I completely get that. So the three of you start out, did you guys have employees at the time, or it was just the three of you?
Man, I'll tell you, so we started, there was at the office of the firm we went to, there was 5 employees, including us 3. It was really more an account manager, just one. And then the first hire actually was someone who still works for us. Her name is Ursula Brandon. She's actually she was our CSR. She just got promoted. She's now our vice president of personal lines. She runs the whole personal lines department. But she was the first person. We talk about all the time. She's been with us for 12 years. Wow. We had to hire somebody to help manage our books, our flow. And it was an interesting time because I didn't know anything about insurance. It was literally, I would talk to somebody and then stand over her shoulder with like a marker, like, hey, what's that app? What's in a quote app? What is it? Yep. You know, like, help me out. I need to get a quote. Like it was it was such an interesting time, man. And, you know, little by little, obviously we started growing our own book of business. We started developing our own, we used to share account managers. And then we started developing our own books of business, our own CSRs on both personal and commercial. It's been a steady growth. I mean, it's been literally small increments, but consistent hard work over the last, 12 years. Then now in our office now, we have 41 employees now. Awesome. And we're just continuing to rock and roll. But it's been 12 years, man, of having those meetings like you talked about, walking in there and saying no and getting better at dealing with no's. That's kind of I think we're good at that. That's kind of what we're best at. Yeah.
And that's the stuff you don't see on social media, right? The 12 years of work and the late hours at the office. No, but that leads me to the next thing. So I think I just started following you guys on social media probably like last year. And I noticed like, it seems like Jag like picked it up. Like they're every day posting on like a lot of the platforms. Did you guys switch something? I know you hired a couple of people for social media. Was that when it happened last year?
It's been about 18 months. Okay. Or so. I mean, we kind of made a strategic move to really invest in social media. And I'll tell you what happened is, for us down where we live, where it started, and this is kind of evolving, but we compete against some of I call them the alphabet houses, right, in the industry. And it was always kind of a resume play. Like we got frustrated where we'd go up and we'd bidding on some of the larger accounts. We were dealing with either boards or associations. And it was never early on about the product we're bringing, the quote, our experience, kind of what we're doing, maybe our potential solutions to their problems. It was always a resume play. Like, hey, I never heard of you guys. Never heard of you. Yeah. Like who's first on Google? And obviously we're used to it. We're competitive. We can deal with it. But after a while, we kind of figured out, all right, like we take a step back in insurance, like we're in insurance. There's really nobody, kudos to you for stepping out, even your comfort zone. Like you're doing your own thing and getting uncomfortable. Not many people in our space are out there advocating for industry, making it. I don't think it's ever going to be cool. That's fine. Like that's going to be impossible, right? Yeah. But still, just being out there and advocating for each other, like what you're doing, where I'm doing, and reaching out to different people. So we took on kind of like this approach where like, all right, if our perceived weakness, at least locally, right, was no one knows who we are because the alphabet houses pop up first on Google. Let's do a kind of a 180 and invest heavily in social media, because if these guys they're all publicly owned agencies, right, and they have certain regulations, we're privately owned. We can do whatever we want. I mean, we all we gotta do is get comfortable and talk on the camera, which takes practice too, by the way. It's not easy. But we said, man, let's do 180 and let's go crazy on LinkedIn. Let's go crazy on social media. The truth is, LinkedIn specifically, every executive, everybody you want to talk to, every decision maker is on LinkedIn. Yep. But no one participates. A lot of reasons: red tape, right? The fear. You like my post. What if we're friends, but I work for a competitor, right? Yep. Is it going to be an issue? I know people that's happened to. So we said, you know what? Let's take that. Let's flip it, and let's just go all in. Let's go all in. Let's invest in it. Let's promote the brand. Let's promote necessarily. I mean, we're not trying to sell we are selling ourselves, but we want to promote our brand the right way, the organic way, get our attention. So our hope is the next time I go into a board meeting or we go build an account, somebody at least maybe recognizes our brand or they kind of know us a little bit, and the whole insurance thing, because nobody likes insurance either. That's the second part. Like, I don't even think I like insurance, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure I don't like it. I like everything. I like talking. I like people and dealing with that, but I don't like insurance. Yeah. But if we can kind of, break that wall down a little bit by doing those little things every day and creating some trust and rapport through this attention platform, then we're going to do it. And so it's about 18 months ago, we kind of made this whole switch. We kind of invested in. Now we do have 3 full-time employees in our office. So granted, it is a lot of work, and it may look easy, but there's a lot of investment that goes into it, and these guys work hard. Sometimes I almost feel like I want to do more, but then I remember, man, I'm a producer, I'm a sales agent, right? We got to sell, so I can't get on it. Like, look, even you, man, you're taking time out of your day after you finish taking care of your clients to want to do that, and I respect that so much. But I believe in it.
Yeah. What's I mean, I know you. So the 3 of you, are you guys like actively selling, or are you more managing the employees? Like, has your role kind of evolved as time's gone on?
It's still as it is now. I mean, us 3 we're still the 3 biggest producers in the office. I mean, as far as we're principals, but we're producers, and I'd
be so afraid to lose that. Like, I feel like that's why I'm in insurance. Like, I love going out, meeting people, writing policies.
It's the fun part. I mean, now with more employees, there is, now you got to become somewhat more political, half-time, part-time psychologist. Like, it just becomes kind of like you're wearing different hats. Like, you have the responsibility. Like, like even now during COVID, during this change, you start realizing, like, we talked about it, man. Like, how we treat our company, our employees now, whenever this is over, that's going to define us forever. Like, we can't go out and talk about culture and say we care about our people if we don't take care of them. Like, that's the other thing too about social media. What I like about it, it actually holds you accountable. Like, I mean, this is who I am. This is what I say, and you got to be careful. I don't have to be careful. We don't have to be careful, because I promise you, whatever I'm telling and I put it out there, we do it for our staff. But going back to it, and I think, because we're principals, but we're the biggest producers, that's led to our growth. I think if, you being a leader and you're starting your company, and the day you start relying on other people to sell for you, that's a recipe for disaster. That's when the for sale sign goes up. Like, the day that the fire goes, where we're not actively prospecting and continue to build the business on the sales side, that's where I think people get into trouble and they lose kind of their.
Yeah. Do you mind talking to me about, because I'm curious for myself. So you have 40 employees, you have social media guys. So I'm sure there's people walking in your office every few minutes asking you questions and whatnot, which is fine. But what's the process look like? So let's say you meet with a client, you collect all the data, you go back to the office.
Right.
Are you feel like you're doing the accords yourself? Do you pass that on? They send the submission in for you, and then you kind of negotiate with the underwriters. Like, do you mind me asking you, like, what that whole process looks like?
Yeah. So in theory, what it's supposed to look like, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, in theory and reality, I mean, look, it really depends, right? I'm still hands-on. Again, going back to High Star Insurance, I've been a receptionist, I've been a technical assistant, I've been a customer service rep, I was an account executive. Like, I've done it all. So, like, if I need to fill out an Accord app, I'm going to do it right now. One of the good problems, like, in theory, we do have a structure in place. Like, now we have a marketing team who helps market our accounts, but then it becomes kind of the ebb and flow where we built our business through relationships with underwriters, right? A long time ago, when we started knocking on doors, we saw this generational kind of gap switch, where now the underwriters for most of these companies are our age. So we early on would market our own stuff. In theory, today, we get the info, we meet with a client. I think it's important we fill out all the supplementals. We get everything set up, and then we have a team that helps market the accounts. We still market our own stuff. I mean, it's just because sometimes what happens is it might take me 10 minutes to do it myself. Whereas if I want to, we have our account executives and our teams that can help run with it, but they're backed up doing the stuff. They're backed up answering phone calls, customer service. Like me personally, what I like to do is I kind of talk to people all day, kind of run with it, set up meetings. But once I get home, I have a setup at home. Then is when I kind of do the quiet stuff. I'll do the SOV. I'll put the sub apps together. Gather everything, put the narrative down, and then set it up for the next day. I think that's the easiest way of doing it. That's the way I do it. But the more involved you're in an account, I think the better it is for you as well as an agent.
Yeah, I think that's super smart. That's kind of what I did at my old agency too. Like before 9 o'clock hit, I was doing my supplementals and all those fun things that we love about in the insurance industry. And then, the same thing after 5.
I hear people talk, again, in different setups, right? I just kind of hear, and we talked to a lot of agents where they're like, nobody wants to fill out an app. Everybody wants to kind of do their own thing. They want to pass it off. Man, my biggest sale, like I think the problem with a lot of agents have is they kind of lose touch of where the relationship is. If your clients have a better relationship with your customer service staff, you're done. Like you're right for the picking, because and we have great people. You have great people, but there is an invested interest. If you're on a commission only basis and there's a dollar amount to each account, you're gonna fight harder. It's just human nature. You cannot replicate that. I can tell you how many times half of our business, at least I think it is, and how we kind of approach it. I ask people all the time, hey, who's your agent? And you'd be surprised how many times I have clients tell me, prospects tell me, somebody, and look, it's a small town. It's big, but it's small, our industry, right? I know who the agents are. And when sometimes people tell me, I'm not sure who my agent is, I think it's X, or I think it's a new person. I tell them, look, your agent is not, you don't even know who your agent is. The person who's making money off your account doesn't care about you. I'm sorry. But who are you going to call? Who's an agent of record right now?
All day AORs. It still blows me away the amount of time I speak to a business owner and they say either they never hear from their agent until like a week before the renewal and they get the quote the day before renewal, or they just don't hear from their agent at all and it just automatically renews and they haven't spoke to him in 3 years. It blows my mind that even exists and people don't call people back. I don't understand.
How much trouble do you have? Sometimes those prospects it's almost like they still feel comfortable staying with those agents. Like I'm like, wait, hold on. I tell them, I want your loyalty. I want to be able to literally call you once and you never call me back. Like I want you. Come home.
Yeah,
man.
people are afraid to change.
It's great. It changed. Talk about like now during this whole COVID thing. It's been you decided to do your own thing during the the craziest time in the history, right, of our world. But even now, like a lot of stuff that we're doing new has been, and we're getting some newer accounts, but it's been prospecting from before. But a lot of people aren't willing to change. It's kind of either they don't want to change or they're forced to change because their agents aren't set up for this kind of a disruption. Like they're not picking up the phone or something's happening. But it's interesting what's going on, man.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I think the niche markets that I go after, specifically construction, restaurant market's a little different, but in the construction industry in New York, it's like the Wild West. But what I find that's much different than the restaurant industry in New York anyway, is that when I sit down with a client, 10 out of 10 times within like 5 minutes of the meeting, I know if they're in the right place or not. And it seems like everybody's already in the best place they're supposed to be. So unless they have a bad rapport with their agent, like we were talking about, and then, then that AOR solution could open up, it's been tough in the construction industry over here for sure. Cause everybody seems like they're kind of in the place they need to be already,
Right. I mean, there's not a lot of secrets anymore. Like just everything, like it's not 30 years ago where markets were, now with technology, like you can Google it, right? And then the bigger accounts, they're consistently being, cold called, which I'm not a big fan of, but they're always being approached at or try to. But you're right. There's no secrets anymore. I tell you one thing that I think is important, and when I come into situations is I always talk about like who's paying the claim. Like so much we talk about selling insurance, and I can do the song and dance. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to say the name because I don't want to, but A+15 paper. Like, oh, that's great. Who's paying your claim? Like so many times we talk about like we go to certain MGAs and then they go to a certain carrier where they have a third party TPA. I think a lot of times it comes down to our relationship and And we do a good job. Like I'm telling you, man, I try to, for all our carriers, I ask them, can I talk to your claims coordinator? Who are your claims people? Like, I want to know that we're on the same page. Like, we're selling a product that if something happens, we got to be able to deliver. So I don't care how many A pluses are in front of the product I'm selling you. It's my relationship could be better with this company. And if something happens, I'm going to own it. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to send a text. So many people, we get caught up so much in like the company, but the company doesn't know you. There's so many layers from X, right, from the carrier all the way to our insured, that the communication gets lost. So I think that's one of the things where we AOR and try to BOR accounts. Like, hey, I'm gonna help you get your claim paid.
Yeah, and especially when you start talking about companies that people don't know the name of. So if it's not like an Allstate, Nationwide, State Farm, they're kind of like, who's this Scottsdale company? They get all nervous. But if you look at it, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, the non-admitted companies that have had that I've seen have claims, like the process usually is perfectly fine. Like, I think people get very scared between the non-admitted and the admitted,
No, I could tell you, I mean, here in Florida, it happens a lot. There are a few admitted players that, it's funny. We can kind of pick both sides, right? If we're on it admitted, we can kind of go that route. If it's not admitted, I'm gonna scale you that route. But at the end of the day, it's like, who's gonna pay your claim? Yeah. Because the problem is, like, right now everyone's going to the third party administrators to pay your claims. When a catastrophe happens, those guys they're going to outsource. Man, when Irma happened in 2017, like Maria, Irma, and I forgot who else, but the three storms in a row, like, they were literally giving, if you were an appraiser, if you had a heartbeat, you were an adjuster, and you were like, if you can walk and talk. Yeah. And dude, imagine like them who got burnt out. Like, it was a disaster. So these companies, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's the disconnect between how the claim gets paid and the actual insurance carrier. It's so big. We got to flex that's what we do. We flex our muscle of making sure the communication is clear so people don't get stuck, get in a bad situation.
Yeah. It should really come down to just if you trust your agent or not. I feel like if you trust your agent, the rest should be taken care of,
It's true. And most people don't trust insurance companies. Unfortunately, right? Bad experiences overall. But usually it's just a lack of communication.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Right. But I got to ask you this next thing, or I'll kick myself if I don't ask you about it. Okay. Speaking of cold calling, you have a new agent in your office, and this is just me selfishly asking. You have a new agent in your office. What's something prospecting wise that you like them to do that you think will help them generate some more leads?
I mean, I think day one, if you look, it's difficult to start. And even my nephew recently started working for us. He's 25 years old. But starting, I think I've told everybody that don't do it. Like, don't do it, don't join it. Our firm, like, it's not as easy as it looks. Like, don't get into insurance because 10 people who you think are going to help you. It's not going to work. And then, starting day one, cold calling. I think you have to do it. It just becomes, you got to get kind of like 4 different methods of doing it, whether it's cold calling. But I think it's evolved. Like, I had a meeting with, like, I'll give you my nephew, for example. My nephew's started day one. He's actually on the wholesale side, FSU risk management. He started last year just with nothing, from scratch. He goes, hey, I'm going to hit the ground running. He started cold calling like crazy. That becomes kind of, it's the shooting fish in the barrel, per se.
It works. Yeah, it works, but it burns you out. It could burn you out too.
It burns out. I go, look, I think you if you're going to cold call, target big fish. Because if you're going to hit, you got to hit big, right? Yeah. But one thing I recommend is kind of doing like a self-audit, right? Insurance is one of those things that everybody has, 3 or 4 different policies? Everybody, you, your mom, your neighbor. It's exciting. If you go anywhere, any venue, you look around, if you wrote everybody in that place, you'd be doing pretty well, right? Like, I always drive. I'm always fascinated. I drive by, I see a skyline. Like, if I wrote that, and that, I'd be crushing it this year. So one thing I recommend is doing a self-audit. Like, even social media-wise, right? How many followers do you have? Like, literally go through them and figure out, do I insure Jim? The answer is no. Jim's got a house. Jim's got a car. Like, shoot him a direct message. Sometimes we kind of shoot like out in almost no man's land, but do like a self-audit. Like, start doing like kind of like a checklist of the people around you. And if you're afraid to ask, then do something else. Go forget about it. Like, picking up the phone and asking that's like the key to success in this business, because everyone's a potential client. Like if you're a realtor, God bless them, who knows, but everybody is surrounded by insurance, and everybody's a potential customer. Everyone's a potential referral source. That's what I love about it. So my whole thing is, day one, you start, like, do a self audit and figure out what they do, because everybody buys policies, life, health, auto, home, renters, and they know somebody. So it's more of like narrowing down what you can control first, and see where that goes to. That's my first advice to everybody.
Yeah, no, I like that, because it's so funny. This just happened to me a few weeks ago. One of my buddies on Instagram direct messaged me and it's like, "Hey, Sean, do you do auto insurance?" And I'm like, "Oh, how does he not know I do?" But then it's my fault. I'm like, I should have reached out to him more. I'm not promoting myself enough. So I want to kick myself when that happens. But I think that's a really good idea. And the same thing on LinkedIn too. You're friends with a guy who owns a contracting business in New York City. Reach out to him. Just send a direct message.
I mean, the cool thing about it is that it's not like you're calling X. At least someone puts a face to you, right? They can see it.
Yeah, it's more like a read.
They're going to read it. You never know. Nothing to lose. Like cold calling, it's just the traditional cold. This is considered a new way of cold calling, I guess, because now with all the spam and all I've gotten 6 calls today about a credit card. I don't even know. Like I've gotten like fraud alerts from Wells Fargo. I don't even bank with Wells Fargo. It's like now I think it's the best way of doing it, because you can get direct messages to them, and you never know. That's why I think the online presence is so important, and it becomes kind of like your resume builder. The more people you have, the more content you put out. Like even you're doing some stuff where they can see, kind of feel you. Like now, if you reach out to them, they kind of feel like you're not just a stranger, right? You have a little bit of rapport.
Yeah, I think the thing with cold calling too, I hate to talk bad about it because I do think it still works, but I feel like that trust factor just diminishes so much when you're cold calling someone. Like you're cold calling, like it's just I don't want to say slimy. It's just
I've lost hair sweating doing it. Like I've done it. It's not my forte. Some people like it, but what I realized too is, and maybe this is me becoming like safe, right? Like I have a guard, because I do not like cold calling. I've done it. It's just not the funnest thing in the world. I've always thought it, but if a client's if I cold call somebody and they're gonna leave on a cold call, are they gonna do the same thing to me as well? You know what I mean? It also shows a little bit of the type of buyer too. Like, do they treat me as a vendor, or am I value added?
Yeah, and are they gonna be shopping it with 3 brokers next year?
Right. Are they gonna be just anybody calls it price, bottom line, save you money. Like they don't kind of, and it's kind of like, no, man, I'm not a vendor. I'm a partner, strategic partner, making sure that the unknown loss is taken care of, so you can grow your business.
Yeah, I hear you. So listen, I had a few different things written down, and I just hate going off a list because this is what happens. I wind up just going all over the place. Yeah. But I wanted to make sure to ask you too. And again, this is kind of a little off the topic, but I saw that you guys did some work with Gary Vee, like some sort of like mentoring program or something. Like what was that whole process like? What did he guys help you do in the insurance space? Because he's not a guy that's in the insurance space, right?
No, it was really nothing insurance related. In essence, what happened was, they do have a Vayner's mentors, Sasha. It's really called the Sasha Group. They changed the name now, where they actually help consult small businesses. So one of the things, to kind of go back, where we were looking at how do we get more attention, being insurance, we actually reached out. We reached out to them to kind of figure out if we were a space. And our biggest thing was, I don't think this is going to work for us. Yeah. And their biggest thing was, well, why not? Like, we're insurance. And it just ended up being a lot of work. And in my eyes, it changed. Not that everyone knows social media is important. Like, right? Like, it's common sense, but the ability to think a little bit deeper in it. Like, if nobody watches TV, radio, this is free what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And if you can get attention that everyone's on the phone, like every stoplight you pull into, every restaurant, every kid, dude, my parents, it's scary. Everyone's on their phone. And if you could get someone's attention, it's right there for the wiping. Why not invest in it? So kind of going down that path, working, just in essence, working with them, they did help us change our logo. So we held, the kind of the color scheme and attention. And when we talked, it was more about how to create a platform. And they just gave us basically the tools and kind of feedback. And the truth is, if you spend money, you're kind of forced to do it. So it was one of those things where like,
Yeah.
Right? Like if you buy an expensive suit, you're going to wear it, right? And if you buy an expensive car, you're going to drive it. You're going to hopefully sell more insurance. But it was kind of, it was like that extra push
to help boost the brand.
To kind of realize like, man, digital presence is important. It's the future. And if our goal is to be one of the largest privately owned independent agency in the Southeast United States, is why not be? This is a great way to grow our brand, right? To get to different markets, like geographical footprints. Dude, COVID now, man, we have a nice office. I don't think we'll ever get a bigger office. I don't care how much we grow. Like this is kind of. This didn't change it, but it pushed kind of what we're going to do in the future. Like we're working from home, man, and we're doing our best.
It's so wild because listen, I don't have any employees, but I've seen how efficient me personally I've been from working from home and like just setting up a bunch of Zoom calls and, talking with people over the phone. I've closed some deals just through text messaging. It's like, nice. I even start to think like, oh, is it even like, I have an office too. And I'm like, is there even like a point? Like nobody comes into the office anyway. Once in a while, like a marketing rep will come into the conference room or whatnot. But I mean, besides the marketing rep, it's rare that anybody ever comes to the office. Is it the same by you?
I mean, we for us, we have a kind of an open floor concept. I mean, it does help. Like the one thing that and again, we have this kind of like athletic mindset per se. We're like being together and having this open floor. Like I compete against Fernie and Doug every day. I compete against everybody in my office every day. Like whether it's the way I dress in the morning, whether how many calls I made, whether how many people are in the office. So that I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been an adjustment and we're evolving. But being in the office, surrounded by your peers, it does for me personally lift up kind of my energy level. Like it's a challenge thing. So I do miss that. But being able, like geographically, man, we used to meet some really good people, but they lived an hour away in South Florida in traffic, and that became a deal breaker. Yeah. Looking back at it 3 years ago, maybe we changed our mind. Now moving forward, it's different. We have one employee who just literally from his family, he had to relocate to Orlando, Florida. He was all stressed out. I mean, he had to do it. Lives with his parents, taking care of his parents. He relocated. We're like, he still works for us. Like it's good. And I'm just saying, like, last year it would have been like, I'm not sure. We don't know the unknown. We're kind of like, we don't know everything. We're learning as we go. We all are. So it's kind of pushed it. But like, who knows? Now we're gonna keep using this at home setup and see if we can take over. Why not?
It's all about adapting, right?
Yeah.
What's the next step for Jag?
And people say this all the time. We have goals, and I think if you put a goal, it becomes kind of like it becomes too finite, like in a sense of this where we're going to end. Man, I really want to help our staff grow. Like I'm really passionate about helping develop our account executives, our marketing people, our producers. Like my goal would be to find, and I still want to find people who maybe have jobs but are not fulfilled, but when you find a career and kind of build that. That's as important as whatever, growing our book of business. We're growing organically. That's not going to stop. Like that's going to take care of itself. But I don't want to make it about us. I want to make it about the brand itself and our people. It's not just about making money, but it's about helping develop careers, which is, it's going to have such a big trickle effect. Like that for me, and I think for us, is the biggest carrot. Like once we do, and that'll never stop, because I'm going to help 5 people next year. Next year, I want 5 more and 5 more. And I want to do that. That's my goal. That's our goal.